September 4th, 1994. 5 kilometers offshore in Osaka Bay, an island that didn't exist 5 years ago is about to welcome its first commercial flight. But there's a problem nobody's talking about publicly. The island is sinking, not catastrophically, not yet, but faster than anyone predicted. Engineers monitor sensors embedded throughout the structure, watching centimeter by centimeter as their artificial land slowly disappears into the soft clay below. This is Kansai International Airport, humanity's most ambitious attempt to steal land from the sea, and the sea is taking it back. What you're about to witness isn't just a construction story, it's a $20 billion bet that humans could outsmart geology itself, and a decades-long battle to keep that promise from collapsing into Osaka Bay. By the late 1980s, Japan faced an infrastructure crisis with no obvious solution. Osaka needed a new international airport desperately. The existing facility, hemmed in by dense urban development, operated under severe noise restrictions that limited night flights and capacity. But where do you build a major international hub when you're one of the most densely populated nations on Earth? Every patch of flat land was already claimed. The answer sounded insane. Build where there are no residents. Build in the middle of the ocean. Create an island from nothing, 5 kilometers offshore, and construct an airport on top of it. It would be the first offshore airport built entirely on reclaimed land. An artificial island measuring 4 kilometers long and over a kilometer wide. This time, the water was deeper, over 18 meters in places, and the seabed below presented an engineering nightmare. The real antagonist in this story isn't storms or waves. It's what lies beneath the water. Core samples from the bay floor revealed a thick layer of alluvial clay. Soft, water-saturated sediment deposited over thousands of years. This wasn't bedrock. It wasn't even stable soil. In some areas, layers of compressible clay extended 20 meters below the seabed. When you place millions of tons of rock and soil on top of such clay, physics takes over with brutal inevitability. The weight squeezes water out of the clay particles, causing consolidation. As water escapes, the clay compacts and its volume decreases. In practical terms, it means your island will sink. The critical question wasn't whether the island would settle. It absolutely would. The question was, how much, how fast, and could they control it? Initial predictions estimated about 5.7 meters of settlement over decades. But the clay below wasn't following the textbook. The engineers devised a strategy that sounds counterintuitive. Don't prevent settlement, accelerate it. Force the ground to compact now, before you build the airport, so it won't compact later when planes are landing. The technique was called vertical sand drain consolidation, and it represented one of the largest ground improvement operations ever attempted. Massive drilling rigs positioned on barges drove cylindrical casings deep into the seabed clay, some penetrating over 30 meters down. As the casing withdrew, it left behind a vertical column of sand. These sand drains acted as drainage channels, providing pathways for trapped water to escape from the compressed clay. Engineers also applied a surcharge load, piling extra soil on top to create more pressure than the final airport would impose. This forced consolidation to happen faster. In practice, it required installing approximately 1 million sand drain piles across the entire site. Before you can fill an island, you need to define where the island ends and the ocean begins. Engineers constructed a massive perimeter seawall, a ring of protection built from interlocking concrete caissons, each one a hollow box the size of a building, floated into position and sunk precisely into place. Once the perimeter was sealed, dredging vessels operated around the clock, pumping millions of cubic meters of rock, sand, and soil into the enclosed area. Material came from nearby mountains that were literally dismantled to create the island. Watching from above would have looked like watching land grow from the sea. As the island took shape, attention turned to the passenger terminal. Architect Renzo Piano designed a sweeping curved building stretching 1.7 kilometers in length, with a roof that undulated like a wave. But beneath this elegant form lay critical engineering that most passengers would never see. The terminal sat on over 900 adjustable columns, essentially hydraulic jacks embedded into the foundation. This wasn't decorative, it was survival. Because even as the terminal was being built, the island was settling unevenly. Some areas compacted faster than others, creating differential settlement that could crack foundations. The adjustable columns provided a solution. If sensors detected that one section was sinking faster than another, technicians could jack up that portion to keep everything level. This was infrastructure that required not just construction, but continuous calibration. On September 4, 1994, Kansai International Airport officially opened to the public. The first passenger flights lifted off from runways built on land that hadn't existed a decade earlier. It was celebrated as a triumph, a $20 billion mega project that defied nature itself. The world's first fully offshore airport was operational, but within months the celebration turned to concern. The island was settling faster than predicted, significantly faster. Instead of the projected 5.7 meters over 50 years, some areas were experiencing settlement rates that threatened to exceed predictions within the first decade. The hydraulic jacking system, meant for minor adjustments, was being used constantly just to keep the terminal from tilting. This wasn't a design flaw in the traditional sense. The engineers had anticipated settlement. But the sheer complexity of predicting how deep layers of clay would behave under unprecedented loads proved humbling. Models could estimate, but reality had variables that equations couldn't fully capture. Connecting this artificial island to the mainland required its own engineering marvel. Skygate Bridge R, a double-deck bridge stretching 3.75 kilometers across the bay. The upper deck carries automobile traffic, the lower deck holds a railway line. This bridge isn't just infrastructure, it's the island's umbilical cord. Without it, Kansai becomes isolated, inaccessible. And because the island is still settling, the bridge had to be designed with flexibility, able to accommodate the slow lowering of the island without buckling. Typhoons are a regular threat in this part of Japan, and Kansai's location makes it particularly vulnerable. In September 2018, Typhoon Jebi tested the airport's defenses with devastating results. Storm surges breached the protective barriers, flooding the runways. A tanker ship broke loose and crashed into Skygate Bridge, severing the only road and rail connection to the mainland. For days, thousands of travelers were stranded on an island that had become a trap. The damage was eventually repaired, operations resumed, but the incident crystallized a truth. This airport exists in a state of negotiation with nature. It can be protected, maintained, defended, but never made invincible. Today, Kansai International Airport handles millions of passengers annually. The sinking has slowed as the clay deep below continues its gradual consolidation. But it hasn't stopped. Engineers continue to monitor, adjust, and maintain. The hydraulic columns are still being calibrated. The island is still settling, just more slowly now. This is often called the sinking airport, but that phrase misses the point. Kansai isn't a failure. It's a monument to the price of impossible decisions. Japan needed an airport where no land existed, so they built land. In exchange, they accepted a permanent responsibility. This infrastructure will never be finished. It will require attention, adjustment, and investment for as long as it exists. There's a lesson here that extends beyond engineering. Progress isn't about conquering nature. It's about understanding the terms of the agreement and being willing to honor them every single day.